What if the way you've been telling your life story reveals the secret to what is holding you back? Stories play an integral part in how we see not only ourselves, but the whole world. Stories are more than just an important part of communication. They also reveal hidden aspects of our inner talk, which can either support us or end up holding us back from the very things we want most in life, without us even realizing it. Join author, mindset coach, and award-winning singer-songwriter Carrie Rowan on her show, Look for the Good, every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. when she shares nuggets of wisdom from her internationally best-selling book, Tell a New Story, 5 Simple Steps to Release Your Negative Stories and Bring Joy to Your Life. Carrie's powerful stories and compelling guests will empower you to change how you look at your own life while giving you some powerful tools and tips you can use every day to help you feel better and move yourself closer to the life you've been longing to live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Look for the Good. I'm your host, Carrie Rowan, mindset strategist and speaker, and I love sharing nuggets of wisdom about the stories that we tell each other, but more importantly, those stories we tell ourselves. And you can join me and my special guests each week as we share our personal stories of strength and triumph every week here on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. You can listen online. You can listen on your mobile device, in your car, or ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 Radio, and tune in every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern to get real stories on tips on how to turn your story and your life around. And evolve with us as we unite humankind with universal love. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another week of Look for the Good. I love looking for the good. And I know my guest here today, Nancy OKeefe, waiting in the wings, loves looking for the good. Hello, Nancy.
Hi, Carrie. Nice to be here.
So good to have you back. And, you know, I love talking about those stories, and we talk about all kinds of stories here, as you know, the good, the bad, the ugly. I love the ugly, the bad, the juicy stories, because that's where all the good stuff is, right? That's where we don't realize it, but that's where our superpower lies, in those stories. And today we're really going to dive into something that's so near and dear to my heart. It's that story about femininity. It's that story about being women. It's that story about stepping out of that idea we have of ourselves and stepping into something bigger. Women in leadership is such an important topic. And it's interesting because I've always gotten into fields of work that were so male dominated. And you don't realize it, but we've got this little story that keeps us kind of insecure on this topic. And we're going to dive into that because what the world needs more than now, I almost just broke into the song about what the world needs now. It's love, sweet love. What the world needs now is for us feminine leaders to step up. We got to ditch those stories, that imposter syndrome, especially on this topic because we have been trained to feel this way, right? We feel insecure that somehow we can't do it, or, you know, men have always done it longer and we can't be that. We're not fill in the blank, whatever that story is that you have about your self-worth and your value. But I'm here to tell you, usually those stories are 99% BS. And what do I mean by BS? I mean, well, yeah, the BS, but also your belief system is just a belief. And if that story is just a belief that you keep telling yourself, the secret is to find that story, right? And then turn that belief around. Because like I said, it's not true. And you might not even realize you have it in there. But I'm telling you right now, I'm doing some research now on this. I've got the top 3 stories that hold women back from their dreams, right? Those 3 stories, whatever your juicy story might be that you're telling yourself quietly, start listening more to that story. And without further ado, if I had a drum roll, I should have those special effects, Nancy, because that would be fun. Without further ado, here comes Nancy. I'm going to read your bio. Is that okay?
Sure.
Nancy OKeefe, intuitive human design business coach, helping women business owners make a bigger impact, stand out with distinction, fuel demand for your services, and lead your niche to grow a successful and fulfilling business. Isn't that what we all want? Thank you, Nancy.
Yes, I hope we all want that.
I love it. And let's talk about that story, right? So, you know, I bring people on, we talk about those stories. And a lot of times that, I'm sure that wasn't always your story. Now you have an extremely unusually successful background. Share with us a little bit about that, because you're so modest with this. You could make this, your whole bio could be like this page. Share
that would be boring.
Share a little bit because I love to just like have a baseline, right? Like, so when we dive into the leadership, because you have been a leader in quite a role before, you've run your own company for many years, uber successful company. So let's talk a little bit about that so they can know a little bit more about you because I don't think we talked about that last time.
Well, I actually entered the workforce as a receptionist with a high school diploma, and I was not terribly qualified to do much more. And over the years, I took classes and went to school. I went back to college. I was a young mom, so I couldn't do that right out of high school. And little by little, I developed myself into who I really am. It's that piece of authenticity that I think is so important. We always wonder who we should be. We compare ourselves to others. We're trying to find the perfect persona for ourselves, when in fact, just being yourself is the perfect persona. And as you grow into yourself, and I'm now wise with age, so I can look back on many years and see how this happened over the course of my life. But I just kept taking the next step. I just kept saying yes and taking the next step. Little by little, I learned to be a customer service rep where I worked. And then they promoted me to a supervisor. And, then I got interested in technology. One of the things that I did that really propelled my career was I helped to implement the first computer in the office I worked in. And that was really challenging. And also, I fell in love with the technology. So from there, my career went off on a tangent, sort of, which became my true calling, which was implementing technology in big organizations. And I ran a consulting group that led to consulting. One thing just naturally led to another. And you just keep going. And mostly it's based on what you're interested in. Yeah. And yes, I had a big success. I started a company that did outsourcing. I had 50 people in 4 states, and it was the first virtual organization in existence in the country.
Wow.
We had to build the software to do it. We didn't have
Wow.
Zoom. We didn't have apps. We didn't have any of that. And it was very, very successful. And the model worked because I went out and looked for people who had skills, but they weren't work people because they had wanted to stay home and raise their children. And nobody would hire them because you had to come into the office, and that went against their values and what they wanted for their families right then. Well, we said, okay, you don't have to come into the office, work from home. And it worked beautifully. It was a win for us. It was a win for them. And I did that for over a decade before I decided to, quote, retire.
which you're not retired.
Which didn't go too well. But
that is so, I love that story, Nancy, because I love what you said. So many cool things in there. You kept saying yes. You kept it kept being the natural next progression of your beautiful and active career. And it's like, and I also love what you said about following your interest, right? Because a lot of times we feel like we can't. We feel like, well, we have to be, it's one of those stories. We have to be in this lane. This is what I went to school for. This is what I know how to do.
Right.
This is what I was
This is how I
hired.
become successful.
Yeah,
Follow the script.
Yeah.
No, do what you want. I did some career coaching. That was one of my offerings for a while. And I had a client who was really struggling in college. And he really had no direction. He was really stuck. So I asked him, well, let's look at the courses that are offered. What one is interesting to you? And he said, piano.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, go register for it. But he said, but it doesn't have anything to do with what I'm going to do for work. I said, I don't care. If you're interested in it and you want to do it. Well, I got a call from his father, who was paying the bill for his tuition, who informed me he was not going to pay for his kid to go to school at X amount of dollars a semester to learn how to play the piano. And I said, if you want your son to figure out what he wants in life, you will. You will make that investment in him. And he did. And the guy's total life changed. He decided to become a nurse.
Whoa.
He met the woman of his dreams. They got married. They have several children. She's also a nurse. I mean, just that one thing that he did that he was interested in changed his entire life.
I love that. Because, and it's funny because most people wouldn't have taken that, especially with the father with the pressure who called you.
Yeah.
Most people would back up and be like, oh my God, I got to follow this straight and narrow. I got to do, because we live our lives for other people in a lot of, especially in that young and impressionable scenario. But I love that because he kept that alive. Like, it's so important, when women come to us, in their mid-age, which they usually are, I find, and I'm sure you do too, they forget. Like, they forget who they are. They forget what they like. We forget what we love because we're so busy serving other people. And this is the way we were brought up, right? We
Right.
all were. To be quiet, sit still, don't say anything unless you have something good, look pretty, blah, 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 blah. All those things that aren't
Right.
really true for girls. And it's funny because I grew up with this little tiny mantra in my head. I don't know why I had it, but I was a real tomboy growing up. And I had the short hair, the Dorothy Hamill haircut, and me and my brother were 16 months apart, and we just palled around together. I'd rather be outside climbing trees with the boys in the neighborhood than inside playing dolls or whatever.
Yeah.
So my father had a nickname, but I'm not going to share what that is. Anyways, the point of the story was, for some reason, I would say to myself all the time, oh, the boys are doing it. I can do it. I can try that. Oh, ride a bike up over that cliff and do it. I'm going to do that. So I had this in my head. Girls can do anything boys can do. Right?
Right.
And then we might even want to add better at the end of that sentence. So, so it was my little mantra. And that's probably why I stepped my toe. Somehow my dad encouraged me, and I know you've got a story about this too.
Yeah.
My dad encouraged me to do whatever I wanted. I thought I was going to go to law school. I thought I was going to do all those things that women didn't do. This was years ago. And so what is that story, right? Like, what is that story that drives you or holds you back? That's what I want you guys to think about today as you listen to Nancy and I.
And really the key to it is staying curious.
Yeah.
When I graduated from high school, even my bachelor's degree, the level of computer technology that I'm working with now was just simply not there. Human design, which is the major tool that I use in all of my coaching and my courses and so on, that didn't come into existence until 1987. And let me tell you, I graduated from college a lot sooner, before that.
We don't have to talk numbers.
You don't know what's going to be out there. Stay curious.
Yeah.
And continue to explore. And if you're interested, check it out.
I love
and
that.
If it doesn't, float your boat when you get into it, quit. But, we have this idea, another story we tell ourselves, oh my goodness, I can't quit. Yes, you can. Pretty quickly. If you're in touch with your body and you're listening to it and you're, making aligned choices based on your decision-making centers, then when it's right for you, but you might have to try it before you can discover that. Try it. Yeah. That's really the key.
Try it. It's so true. And I also love what you said about tuning into yourself, right? Because we're just so externally facing. We're looking for somebody else to give us the answers. This coach, that coach, whatever. But truly, I think the work is coming home to ourselves. That whole self-authority is so important. And that's what I love about human design. It does reel you back into yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? And how you make decisions and who you are and what is your profile.
And how you're wired to operate, what you came here to do.
Yes.
And, just there's so much in there. It's so rich.
So rich. Yeah.
It's really the roadmap of your life.
Yes. Amen. It's a robot, because we forget about, again, it's a forgetting. We forget about those things. We get so focused outside, like that example of the kid with his dad. He could have followed exactly what his dad said, but he was listening to himself and you with the great guidance. And so it's bringing ourselves back to that. What is it that I want? And then knowing, one of the things I really love about human design is talking about your authority, knowing where you make that decision from, because everybody's different. Yours is different than mine.
And then trusting it. That's the key.
Yeah.
Because we don't trust ourselves. We look for outside approval, if you will.
Yes.
We compare ourselves to others. We look to others for approval. It's okay to get opinions. It's perfectly fine to go out there and solicit advice and opinions from others. But at the end of the day, when you make the decision, it needs to resonate with you and only you, because the decision is for you. And that's what the human design authority or decision-making center is really all about. And that's just one important piece of human design. There's just so many.
So many good, I love it. So much goodness in there that you can, again, bring you back to yourself. Like when I learned that where mine was in my body, because it's tying everything back to our body, because that's where all the answers are, right? We have all the answers within us. It's just finding that time to access that, whether that's through
And knowing how to
meditation,
access it.
knowing how to access it. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
How does that differ between people, Nancy, in the human design
Well,
system?
it's really understanding where that center is, where
Hmm.
the information lives. Where do you get the information? And then being able to access it.
Hmm.
We're so confused, I'll use that word, by what we're told to do. For example, the decision-making authorities, believe it or not, there isn't one type that has their decision-making authority in their head. And yet
Right.
we're told, how do you make a decision? Well, you weigh the pros and cons, you think about it. You use logic, okay, but you also have to take it down into the center where you make that aligned choice and feel into it. What's it like if you
Yeah.
make a yes decision? What's that going to feel like? And
Mm.
you will actually get clues. Maybe you'll feel nauseous. Maybe you'll feel excited. You'll know, but you have to get in touch. We've had it kind of beat out of us. So we have to work a little bit to get in touch with that part of ourselves again
Mm.
and to use it and then just go with it. Just depend on it, trust it. You can bank on it. You don't have to question it.
I love that. And you don't have to expend all that energy that we do
No,
trying to get the approval and am I doing and I'm pleasing this one and pleasing that one. Really, the only relationship that you really ever need to work on totally is the one between you and that
right.
higher self,
You and your higher self.
right? The higher self that always knows. And when you work on that and you cultivate that, and you can do that through human design, then every other relationship in your life will just have the ripple effect, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It'll trickle down and everything in your life will be better. And you'll get more confidence. You'll have more clarity. You won't be in a position where you have a lot of self doubt. It helps your self esteem. It just, the benefits just go on and on and on.
Yeah. And all
And
that.
we haven't even talked about business yet.
Exactly. And we haven't even scratched that surface. And all of that will make you better in business, but all that will make you better in life. And that's what we want to get better at life. Because when we're better at life, we're better at business, we're better at family, we're better at everything. Because we've taken care of that inner conflict that most of
Right.
us have between what we want to do and what we should do. Let's apply that a little bit to business before we break, Nancy.
Okay. So, the big thing is to be yourself. We're undergoing a very large shift in business. And for those of you business owners, you may have already been feeling that some of the things you've been doing aren't working as well anymore. Some of the things in our world that we have depended on, like school systems and healthcare and so on, aren't working as well. We're going through a huge shift, and we can talk more about that later. But
Mm-hmm.
the key to all this is to really get to know yourself. And what is the thing that works for you? The day of cookie cutter formulas and gurus telling you step by step, do this, do this, do this, that stuff just doesn't work for everyone.
Mm.
It might work for some, and it's good advice, but if it doesn't align with who you are, it isn't going to work for you. So really getting into your human design and understanding yourself and how you're wired to operate, and what natural skills and talents you have, what your superpowers are, what you're here to do, and how you're here to serve people. Those are the things that will help you make a successful business. And not only will it be successful, but it'll be one you enjoy because it's so natural and it uses your gifts and talents. When I was doing career coaching, one of the major complaints by people that were unhappy in their jobs was, I don't get to use what I'm good at. I don't get to
Really?
use what I'm good at. I'm really good at this, and my manager doesn't let me do it. Uh, when you're able to do the things that are naturally your strengths that you enjoy doing, you shine. Your frequency raises. You're just better all around, and that makes your business better. And it also serves to attract the right people into your
Yeah.
business because
Right.
they're the people that recognize that they need what you have.
Yeah.
And it's not pushing your stuff out there in a marketing way. It's just being you and magnetizing the right people into you based on what you talk about and what you offer and how you act.
I love it. And the way we magnetize is not from here. It's from here. This is where our electromagnetic center is. So we're magnetizing, and that's why I love all the things you wrapped in there about it's what we want to do, it's what we're passionate about. It's usually something that we've gotten through in our own life that we can't wait to share with somebody else, right?
Exactly.
So these are the things that reverberate out of us that other people can feel. And I love that human design takes that to even one more level. Like it will tell you how you're supposed to approach business. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like I know I'm supposed to wait for an invitation, which is so hard for me
Yeah.
as a projector.
Yeah, it's how you're really supposed to approach everything, but especially business. Let's just talk about the 5 types really quickly.
Sure.
The manifester is the only one that has initiating energy. We live in a world where we say, oh, just do it, go do it, get out there, make the cold calls, do the direct messaging. You know, that works for 9% of the population that are manifestors. It doesn't work for any of the rest of us.
9,
Because,
that's it?
yeah,
Oh
9%.
my gosh.
70% of the world are generators. They're built to respond to an outside force. If a generator has an idea in their head and they try to implement it, chances are it falls on deaf ears. They're here to respond to the outer world. So the way it's supposed to work is the manifestors have the ideas, they're the creative ones, and the generators pick up the ideas and run with them. They build them out. They make them real. And then we have the 20% of the population that are projectors, and they're here with insightful energy. And Carrie, you're a projector, and they're here to help and guide and direct the rest of us. And they do have to wait for an invitation, because if they share, they're very wise and insightful. They can see into our souls. They know how to help us. But if they blurt it out and they don't wait to be recognized or ask for help, it can, again, fall on deaf ears. And over time, if they use that strategy and don't get any response from others, they can become bitter about it and wonder, what the heck's wrong with me? They can feel broken. And then finally, the last group is the reflectors. That's only 1% of the energy.
Wow.
And they are people that have mirror energy, and they reflect back to the rest of us how we're all doing. So we're all meant to work together. And when you honor, that's called your strategy, how you're meant to respond and work in the world. When you honor your strategy, things go much easier. I can't tell you the number of times I've tried to put something out into the world and it just didn't get any traction. But when I had my big business, when I had, a multi-million-dollar success, that opportunity was something I responded to. Somebody had a problem they were just chatting with me about, and I responded to it and said, I can help you with that. And the rest is history. So that was a really good example of the generator responding.
Yeah.
And it's not as horrible as you think. You don't just sit around and twiddle your thumbs waiting for, some idea to come or some invitation to come. You can do things to prepare and seed the world with what you do to help get that invitation or to get that thing to respond to. But when you use that strategy, it's almost like magic.
Right? It is magic. We're gonna break right here because I know everybody's hanging on. They want to know what their strategy is. So hold on. We'll be back with some more magic from Nancy OKeefe. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Look for the Good. Carrie Rowan here with Nancy OKeefe. We're having this incredible conversation, and we just left them with this tidbit, Nancy. We're talking about the magic that happens when you are in line with what your strategy is, right?
Right.
We talked a little bit about what your authority is, which is how you make your decisions. So I love that you are on a mission to help women step back into themselves, right? And step into their leadership roles. So weave that into this. How does that work? Where are we at as a society? How does this whole strategy reflect? And who should these leaders be?
Well, we are in a position where women don't always feel like they're leaders. And our definition of leadership, in my opinion, is broken. We believe leadership is something that has to be developed. And I can prove to you that leadership exists in every human being. I've done enough readings and looked at enough charts to know that everyone has leadership qualities. They're all a little bit different, but everyone is a leader. And in this new era that I alluded to, we're moving from the era of planning in human design, which is all about structure, process, systems, institutions, to the era of the sleeping phoenix, which is about individual self-empowerment. And everyone is needed. This energy we're moving into is a lot more feminine. Women have been sort of relegated to the background in more supportive roles. They need to step up because we need what naturally comes to women. Look at the state of our world today. We need to do something different.
Yeah.
We need to bring some new energy into being, and that's what this shift that is happening is doing. So it's time for women to step up. This is a huge opportunity for women. And the question I want women to ask is not, am I a leader? But am I willing to step into the leader I was born to be?
Ooh, love that. Am I willing to step into the leader that I was born to be? That's a whole different conversation.
Yes. And some people will say to me, well, I'm not a leader. I don't have a team. I don't work at corporate. And I say, I don't care. Do you have a family?
Yeah.
Do you have a community?
Right.
Do you attend church services?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's lots of places where you can be a leader. You can be a leader in your own family. Well, let's start with being a leader of yourself. And that gets back to using your strategy, your decision-making authority, and doing the things that are right for you, even if they buck the status quo. That's leadership.
Amen. I love that, being the leader of the family. Yes.
That's leadership.
It is leadership. It is leadership on all fronts. Like you said, hey, maybe you're involved in the PTO, maybe you're involved in a cooking group or whatever. Being that leader, that you using those skills that you have naturally, that will help you. Practicing there will help you step it into,
Right.
whatever it is you want to do in your work world.
And it's about sharing your wisdom and your experience and the information that you've gathered along the way in life. It's not about power over others. Our definition of leadership, we always think of somebody who's in charge and has some power over others. This is about power with others. This is about helping everyone rise.
Yes, I love
And
that.
that's what's needed in the world.
So what's needed, and like guiding, being the guide, right?
Yes.
And then I, when you say that, I get this visual of, I'm thinking back in the days of like, the robes and all that, and people are following. They're just naturally following because it feels like the right thing for them. Because the leader is following who they are. They're true to themselves is really what it feels like.
And what I'm hoping to teach is who you are. Let's look deep into who you are and then be your own leader. If there are 10 people in the room, we're going to have 10 leaders.
Yeah.
And stop looking to everyone else for the answers. We've already talked about the fact that you have all the answers. This is a huge shift from the hierarchical leadership style we have been really involved in since the year 1615.
Wow, really?
Yeah, 400 years. And this new energy coming in will be around for 400 years, roughly.
Wow.
So this is a big shift. And some people are going to have a lot of difficulty with it. And this the hard date is February of 27. But let me tell you, we've been involved in the transition for at least a decade. We see it all over the place. All the things that aren't working as well, the unrest, the restlessness. If you're feeling called to do something else, but you don't know what it is, or you're feeling restless in your life, or you have a lot of anxiety around what's going on in the world, you're feeling it too.
Yeah.
So don't sit back and be the victim, or sit back and be somebody who just goes with the flow. Get out there and help to shape the way this unfolds.
I love that. Get out there.
Get your input in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And use what you magically have that nobody else does, which is to do it in your flavor, exactly in the style that you would do it. Whereas, it's like writing a song. If I said, okay, Nancy, we're both going to write a song about a blue Mustang, your blue Mustang song would be completely different than my blue Mustang song.
Absolutely.
Same thing
and
with
it
leadership.
should be.
Yes. Amen.
Because that raises another issue. In our society, we like conformity. We don't like differences. Wars have been fought over differences.
It's true.
We have, differences that are based on how people look.
Right.
The color of your skin or, the ethnicity that you have. That's ridiculous. Everybody, I saw a picture one time, probably on Facebook, of 4 Labrador retrievers. One of them was white, one of them was yellow, one of them was chocolate, and one of them was black. They're all Labrador retrievers. That's the way we need to think about humanity.
Love that.
Not, looking at the exterior characteristics and making some kind of a ridiculous judgment about it. We all came here with a contribution to make. And if you're here right now in this time period during this transition, you've got a job to do to help humankind move from this older energy to the newer energy. And that's what my new book is all about.
That is so well said, Nancy. And, bringing your best self is how you do that, right? Like bringing that,
absolutely,
raising the vibration of your own, again, back to your leadership, being the leader of your own self, which sends out to being the leader of your own home, and raising that vibration, because guess what? The person with the highest vibration in the room wins, not the lowest, right?
And we're all connected. So if you raise your vibration, it helps me, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But all the negativity, all the, stuff that we have going on in the world, that's lowering everybody's vibration.
Yeah, the attacking.
We're headed in the wrong direction.
Yes.
We've got to stop that.
Yeah.
And women are the natural ones to stop it, because why? We have compassion. We have caring. We have community. We're supportive. We're nurturing. We've got the natural skills it takes to turn this around. And that's why I feel so strongly that women need to step into their role, what they came here to do, and be the leaders of at least their own life, but hopefully extend that a little more even.
And when we do that, again, I'm going to talk about that ripple effect that we're creating for not just us, everybody around us, everybody who's in our vibration, and all that younger generation that is so confused because they grew up with this in their face. Leading the way for them, showing them what women are capable. We're the ones to break that cycle. We can see the whole thing. We've been here for long enough to see that whole picture. And showing them that it is possible, because I think everybody's shrinking down because they're scared. Fear is rampant.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear. Don't buy into the fear. This is part of the transition. It's not pretty. It's hard to go through. Some groups are certainly suffering more than others. But, anytime there's a big change happening in the world, there's, it's going to be difficult to get through it. But I really believe on the other side of this is really good stuff, an opportunity for everybody to shine and to lead with their light, to be themselves, to get so much more gratification and satisfaction out of what they're doing in the world, and to make their contribution, not to be shut out by some judgment of some other group, not to be told how to do it, but to feel through it themselves and do what feels right for them.
I love that. And you said something that is so important. You talked about contribution, because growth and contribution are the two of the highest of the 6 human needs. And when we need to feel that, that's why you see people who might be successful on the outside, but if they don't have that growth piece and feel like they're stepping outside of themselves and growing to somebody else, and then they're giving back, they're either turning around to the guy behind him or woman behind him and handing something off, or they're just giving back to the world in some way, shape, or form, then they're not growing. That's why they feel dissatisfied. That's why they feel stuck. That's why all those other emotions come up. So really, again, raising that vibration and understanding that what you're doing has a higher purpose, and, kind of taking that lens back, right? And pulling your lens back. And we're
all designed to work together.
I love that.
We're all designed to work together. And
that's what we're missing. That's what we're missing. This inner bickering, all of this stuff happening on social media and everywhere else. It's like, let's raise things up a notch, right?
Yes.
Like, let's just raise this we're like children, like bickering back and forth. Let's raise this all up, because when people start doing that, that's really where people want to be led, but they don't feel led by that right now.
No. And part of the problem is we look to others to be our leaders.
Right.
And it really starts from within. There isn't any one person on the planet, no matter how good they are, who can lead us out of this. We all have to play a part. We all have to play a part.
And I like that thought, because everybody's wondering what they can do about all this unrest and this craziness. That's what you can do. Manage your own inner world. Raise that vibration, because collectively, like you said, it is contagious, right? You can tie into the consciousness of the lower vibe, or you can raise your vibe and tie into that higher consciousness. And if you really want to make a difference, I feel like that's what you could do.
Absolutely. And I think the first step is to stop buying into the fear. Stop fueling the fear.
How do you do that, Nancy?
I think you do that. Maybe you turn off the news. Maybe you get some people that are a little bit on the toxic side. You spend less time with them. Yeah. Maybe you spend more time out in nature. You do some more self-care kinds of things. whatever raises your vibration. And you don't worry about it. You don't worry about things that you really can't control. All
Right.
you can control is what's within your sphere of control. And when you work on yourself and you work on that, you'll naturally raise yourself up and you'll stop worrying so much about that. Things are going to happen in the world that aren't pretty. That's the way it's been since the beginning of time. But we don't have to buy into them and fuel them with, breakthrough news cycles that interrupt our regularly scheduled television programming or, whatever else.
Right.
We don't have to buy into it.
Right. And it's doing those things, again, I'm going to go back to yourself, doing those things that you know for yourself to try to clear that out. I don't watch the news very often. And if I do, it's a very neutral news station. But deciding, like being intentional about what you will do and what you will not do, what you will tolerate, what you won't tolerate, right?
Being intentional, yes.
Yeah, being intentional. So instead of, like you're saying, buying into all that, okay, I'm not going to buy into XYZ. I'm not going to watch the news or do this anymore. But what will I do? What will I do to improve myself? Will I work on my nervous system? Will I try to figure out what are those negative stories I'm telling myself that keep ringing in my head? And maybe that does back up to the news or whatever else you're reading or taking in or social media. So be intentional. Make a list for yourself. What were you going to say, Nancy?
And human design has components in it that describe your nervous system and what's the right environment for you. And there's other variables in there that speak to that. So, if you are somebody who has the variable of, like mine, shores, I know I feel better when I'm at the beach or on the edge of the water, a body of water. That's my happy place.
Yes, that's why you live.
I mean,
where
we
you
can
live.
even go down to that level in human design.
Really? I love that. I think mine was mountains, but I like the ocean and the mountains. So we're going to break real quick and we'll be right back. We're going to talk more about what is your happy place. And we're going to go into that a little bit. So we'll be right back with Nancy O'Keefe. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Look for the Good. We're having a riveting conversation with Nancy O'Keefe. I love what we're talking about. There's so many pieces to human design that it's just fascinating. Like, I remember when you first turned me on to it and you did that little mini reading for me, I remember spending the whole weekend diving into it. And then I was doing everybody in my family. There's just so many pieces. It is so interesting. So talk a little bit more about using human design, how that can affect our leadership, and what kind of clues can it give us to whether we're doing the right thing or not?
Well, as I mentioned, everyone's a leader. And
Yes.
I can prove it to you by just running your human design chart, because leadership lives everywhere in the chart. And if people are interested in finding out more about their leadership and how they can be really raising their own vibration and living in their best interest and their highest self, on my website, on the homepage, is an opportunity to get a free human design report that goes through your leadership and helps you understand how you are wired to become a leader. And remember, my new definition of leadership is not hierarchical. It's not about power over. It's about just owning who you are and being yourself and putting that out in the world.
Beautifully said, Nancy. I love that. So yeah, you can learn how to be your own leader of your own self. Let's start there, because so many people haven't even mastered that yet, right?
Yeah.
So let's start there. Let's go back inside. You gave a couple great tips on how to do that and how to calm that nervous system and not tie into the fear. So let's start there. Like, start practicing, like, oh, I'm going to listen to myself. I have this decision. What do I want to make for dinner tonight? Start small, right? Like, start with the small things and just,
Right.
and really start to practice where you're feeling that in your body. And really you can go into and have that little mini reading with Nancy, which is so good and so powerful. You'll get a lot of stuff.
And don't be afraid to say no, have boundaries, and buck the status quo.
Ooh, I like all those. Say
Yeah.
no, have boundaries, and buck the
Buck
status
the
quo.
status quo.
That sounds like a little mantra that you have there.
There you go.
Say no, have boundaries. I think boundaries, especially for women, let's talk a little bit
Yes.
about that, are hard. Let's talk a little bit about that. Why are boundaries so hard for women, Nancy?
Because we want to please people.
Right.
And we have a lot of roles to play. We wear a lot of hats. And I think it's hard to say no, especially when you're caring for your family, doing things for the family, or it's hard to say no to others.
Yeah.
It's that nurturing, caring aspect of it, of what we have. But, what's that saying? If mama's not happy, nobody's happy. You've
Happy
got to
wife,
take
happy
care,
life.
put your own oxygen mask on first, as they say in the airplane. That's really what it's all about. You've got to be whole and authentic and feel good about yourself before you can really be the best for others.
So true. And that's
And this
why,
impacts everything.
yeah.
Your ability to attract the right relationships into your life, your ability to attract clients. It's everywhere.
I was going to say that's why a little bit of self care goes a long way. People think it might be selfish, but again, coming back to ourselves, spending that time improving what's going on in here and raising that vibration, ultimately, it's going to make everything else so much easier.
Absolutely.
Your work, your play, whatever else it is. Because when you can feel that good feeling inside, you want to share it with everybody else.
Right.
You naturally step into your leadership.
And that's your light. And
Yes.
that's why I talk about lead with your light. Get in the highest potential of your energy and step out into the world with that, because that's really how you're going to be able to make your best contribution and be your highest self.
So can I break into this little light of mine? I'm just
There
going
you go.
to let it shine. It goes back to what we taught little kids about this little light that lives in our heart, right? And
Yeah.
and when we do something kind for somebody else, that's what helps it shine out. And again, maybe we just need a little polishing up of that light, but it's there. I promise you, everybody, it is there.
It is there.
It's there waiting to be rekindled. Your leadership qualities are already there. And I love the way you've described it. We're all leaders and we all do it just a little bit differently. Again, like we said, the painting, your Monet painting is going to look very different than my Monet painting, right?
And it's about remembering and awakening yourself.
Awakening yourself.
Yeah. This is why I don't agree with leadership development, because you don't have to be developed. You just have to awaken what's already inside you. It's fully developed.
It is. That's beautiful. I love that. That so bucks the system.
Oh, yeah.
How do you think
my
that would
middle
go?
name, Rebel.
Wait, let's talk about, we have to talk about this because I love this. You said that when you were little, your mom called you bossy and always used to call you fresh. I love that.
Yeah. You're fresh. She told me that all the time.
And what did you say?
I told her I'd rather be fresh than stale.
You should make that your little work mantra somehow.
Yeah. I mean, my mother was a wonderful woman. She's passed now, but she had a lot of ideas about how things should work, because that's how her generation grew up.
Absolutely.
And she tried to stick me into the box of etiquette and manners and, all of that, be a proper lady and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sorry, that just isn't me. My human design says, my main contribution to the world is to help people see their authentic self and to be authentic myself and to live my authentic self. So when she said, do this, be this, I was like, not happening.
I love that.
Unfortunately, we did not always have the best relationship because of that. But I had to be true to me and she had to be true to her. So we found the ground where we could agree to disagree.
I love that. And you know what? It's in that contrast that the growth comes from. It actually probably made you stronger and dig your heels in a little bit to be more you. And I think that's beautiful, Nance, because it's really reflective of everything in your life, but really to this point where you're now launching a book on this and all the human design work is all around this. You've always known who you were, and we're not going to bend for anybody. I love that about you.
Everyone knows who they are inside.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're just afraid to be ourselves.
And we forgot.
Or we forgot.
Yeah.
It's been conditioned out of us.
It's been just like creativity. We squeeze, life squeezes it out of you, right?
Yeah.
But it's yours to take back anytime you want. Take that power back. I got a song about that too, but I'm not going to sing it right now. Especially for women, we give the power away, right? Like a lot of little girls in that situation with their mothers would have said, okay, mommy, I'll be quiet and good. Right?
And we're afraid of power because we've been taught that it's not attractive.
Ooh, interesting.
We even came up with the word assertive, which tampered down the word aggressive because it wasn't attractive. So, all our lives we've been taught to be good, to be the good girl. And there's no power in the good girl.
No power.
So, we need to unlearn some of the things we've been taught.
Yeah, I agree with that so much. it reminds me of, like, I talk about this in my book, you know, and Dorothy, when she finally realizes and Glinda tells her that she could click her heels 3 times and say, go
Mhm.
home. And she said, well, why didn't you tell me that before?
And,
Like, what?
and she says, you've had the power all along.
Amen. That's the why of my 5-step process. The you had the power all along. Again, we gave it away because that's where we were trained, conditioned. We forget that we have the power. And I love celebrating taking that power back. And it's not just one big swoosh. It can be in small little ways.
Right.
Small little ways, like you said, setting boundaries, bucking the system. Those
Right.
little ways of taking our power back. Because once you start that goodness on that and you get that momentum going, it's super powerful. And that's where your confidence comes back. When you say you're going to do something and you show up for yourself and you do it.
Right. And in the book, Lead with Your Light, it's I really try to lay out the evidence of this change and this big transformation in the new era energy. And then the second half of the book is about really learning how to find the leadership qualities in your chart. I walk through everything so that at the end of the book, you'll be in a position to say, wow, I now remember what I'm here to do. I now know where my leadership characteristics are. I now know how I can apply them to raise my frequency, to get what I want out of life, to step up and make the contribution I'm here to make in the world, which will make all of humankind better.
Oh, amen. Well said, Nancy. I love that. So it's really based on the premise of all this work that you've done, all this kind of research that you've gathered about the fact that, and the conclusion that you came to about the fact that we are all leaders naturally, because I think that we were taught this group over here is a leader. You're not a leader. You're a follower, right? How many times the whole sheep theory, right? Like, oh,
Right.
most people are sheep. But what if most people who thought they were sheep are now waking up to the fact, right? That's what your book is here to do, especially for women.
All people are leaders.
Yeah.
And I can prove it. I can prove it to you.
Yay. I love that statement. And you can prove it. So there isn't one chart that doesn't show leadership qualities.
Absolutely.
What are leadership qualities?
There's a variety of them. It's how you are expressing yourself in the throat with your voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's your profile, even your type. And then you have some set of 64 gates, which are your skills, your natural talents. And a lot of them are leadership qualities. And the final piece is storytelling. Storytelling is a leadership quality as well. People that can tell stories, that's how we've passed information down for centuries. So that's all rolled up into it too. So every part of the chart has leadership in it. There is one gate that's called the leadership gate, but that's I wish they'd name it something else because really there's so many others.
Right? It's not really that. I love what you said about storytelling because you always know that person. Like, all of us are pretty good at telling stories, but there's that one person is like, they just can tell that story in such a compelling way, right? And of course, who thought of that as a leadership quality? But if you look at business, they've been talking about storytelling now for the last decade as the powerhouse of, converting clients, doing sales, and all
Right.
even for entrepreneurs.
Even
right?
for teaching.
Yeah, of course. It always has been, right?
Yeah.
We always go back to the things that are ancient. And that's true about human design. I mean, a lot of the principles in there are based on ancient things that have been around for a long time.
Ancient systems, right? Like the I Ching, which has been around for 3,000 years.
The I Ching.
Yeah, the Chinese I Ching. Astrology is in human design.
Yep.
The Kabbalah, quantum physics, which is not so old, but there's a lot of aspects to it.
Ooh, I didn't realize all those things were in it. The Kabbalah and I Ching, astrology.
The chakra system.
What is it?
The chakra system.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, the energy systems. Yep.
All of that pulled together. So, people say, oh, well, this is kind of woo-woo. How can you, look at this just from my date of birth and, my birth information? How do you know all this about me? Well, I'm telling you, I've done hundreds and hundreds of readings. And if you get the birth time right, it's very, very accurate.
So accurate for every single person in my family.
For every
that you've done the reading
person.
for. I love that.
Yeah. And most people are not surprised by a reading.
I was just going to ask you that. Do most people agree with what you say?
Most people are, I've heard the word, oh, this is so validating so many times. Yeah. You know it.
I do know it.
You're just afraid to say it, afraid to feel it, afraid to recognize it because you're afraid to buck the status quo. We all want to be accepted. That's very important in our society.
Huge. Yeah. Hierarchy of needs. It's right up there. And so it's one of the things I really loved about human design was also, and I think people would really enjoy this factoid, is that you can take your human design and then take like your partners or even people in your family and see, because you said we all need each other. We all work off of each other.
Right.
And I find it so interesting to look at the different profiles within my family and how that's all interworking, and knowing that in and of itself can help increase your relationship.
Absolutely. Here's a small example. Do we have time for a small example?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So I'm in a relationship with a wonderful man, 22 years we've been together. He's a manifesting generator. He has very speedy energy. I'm a pure generator. It's more like the tortoise and the hare. The hare is the manifesting generator. They're up, back, all around. They do things multiple times before they get to the finish line. But the tortoise is one foot in front of the other. They get there, but it's a slower, more step-by-step process. So for years, we've bickered about the fact that he rushes me when we're going to go out. So I even got to the point where I don't even tell him we're going out until 5 minutes before we go, because I know he's going to be up, shoes on, and in the car before I even get up off the couch.
Beeping the horn at you.
Yeah, where are you? Where are you? And that's just his speedy energy. So once I realized through human design what was going on, just that one thing made a huge difference in our relationship. Now we laugh about it. If he wants to go out in the car and sit for 20 minutes while I comb my hair and brush my teeth and whatever, fine. It's not going to bother me anymore because I understand what he's doing. So just little things like that. It's huge. It makes a huge difference in your relationships.
It's so huge to understanding somebody on even just when you think you know somebody, you guys have been together for decades, right? You start to understand, like you said before, I love the curiosity mindset. Let's get curious. Wow, I wonder why they do that. Look at their human design. See where they're coming from. Like a lot of times that human design is running that subconscious. It's just instinctual, right? With those things that we do, right? Some of them programmed, but some of them not. Some of them just innately who we are. And I love that because it allows you, and I love that you laugh about it now, because it allows you to embrace them just the way they are.
Exactly.
And isn't that what relationships are all about?
Yes.
And getting that curiosity mindset, like, I wonder why they just said that really mean thing.
And there's no judgment, and I'm not making up a big story about it.
Yes. We're not going into the files going, oh, they did that because there's abandonment. He's going to abandon me. He doesn't love me, blah, 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 blah. All those things that come up that trigger us. And that's why I love that. It's an understanding from a different level, a different lens, pulling back that wide angle lens and being like, I wonder what's going on here. That's a great, great example of human design. So, all right, Nancy, share with us, I love asking people, what is your favorite little mantra that you say when you're in a pickle, something's going on? What do you say to yourself?
I really say something to the effect of basically just let it go. Just let it go. Yeah. The tighter you grip it, I learned this in golf, actually. The tighter you grip the club, the worse you shot. Really. If you just let it go and just relax into it and let nature take its course, chances are it's going to work out fine.
I love that. So use the golf grip analogy in everything in life, everybody. I love it. Nancy, this has been an incredible conversation. I've loved having you on the show. It went by in like a minute, didn't it?
I know. Thanks for having me, though. And I hope everybody has a chance to pick up a copy of my new book, which will be out March 11th. Woo-hoo. And we're going to have a launch party that day. People want to get in on that, they can check it out on my website.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on, Nancy. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show and to see you.
Thank you, Carrie. Always a pleasure to be with you, too.
Take care, everyone. And remember, it is never too late to live your best story. Be well.
Thanks for tuning in to Look for the Good with your host, Carrie Rowan, best-selling author and mindset coach. Join us every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. right here at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. If you weren't able to catch an episode, no worries. Just visit our website to find all the archived episodes of Look for the Good on demand, so you don't miss a thing. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. For additional resources or to find out about how you can work with Carrie directly, visit carrierowan.com for more details.